This video is sponsored by Delete Me. Did you know there are hundreds of data broker websites selling your information online? Things like your address, phone number, relatives, even your job. Worst part is, anyone can buy it, leaving you vulnerable to scams, stalking, and harassment. In fact, TechCrunch recently warned that some AI apps are asking for unprecedented access to personal data, which is troubling given all the data breaches that show no signs of stopping. And once your information is out there, it can be impossible to track down and remove on your own. Data brokers collect from public records, social media, and other sources, and they can keep republishing it even after you try to take it down. That's where Delete Me comes in. Delete Me's privacy experts find your personal information on hundreds of these sites and submit the opt-out requests for you. They keep monitoring all year long and send you regular privacy reports so you can see exactly what was found and removed. Services like this have saved me countless hours of work, not to mention provide peace of mind. What's more, Delete Me handles all of this in-house with over 15 years of expertise. And they were even named Wirecutter's #1 data removal service. Right now, you can get 20% off all Delete Me consumer plans when you go to joindeleteme.com/JimmyRobbins and use promo code JimmyRobbins at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/JimmyRobbins, code JimmyRobbins spelled like the bird. Thanks to Delete Me for helping keep the lights on. Now back to the video. Cody Ko and Colleen Ballinger are two YouTubers that have some oddly specific things in common, with both being once mainstream YouTubers with musical aspirations that were once no-brainer collaborations for any creator or brand thanks to both their ad-friendly humor.
This has got to be the worst time to confront someone. Right after a haircut? I'm looking fresh as hell in this. What were you thinking?
My mom and daddy got right. They got some chickens.
And charming personas that allow for chemistry with almost anyone.
I've never done one of these things before.
Neither have I.
You're the biggest liar on planet Earth. You've probably done this one 6 times.
I have.
Who's hosting? I'm confused. I was gonna host. We can all host. Okay, sure. Welcome back to our podcast, guys.
Though they became nuclear brand risks overnight, thanks to a controversy involving their resurfaced behavior with teens.
I hooked up with Cody Ko when I was 17 and he was 25. Gabby Hanna at a playlist live where she pulled him aside and told him like, yo, she's 17. And then we still went and hooked up.
She was literally in DMs talking to children about sex. Are you a virgin?
At which point their podcast co-host severed ties with them.
The thing I have to focus on is how to move forward.
She just does not exist to me anymore.
They lost various sources of income and now find other big creators unwilling to be associated with them. This led to a poorly received non-apology on their spin-off channels.
I just think all I can do right now and moving forward is just try to be the best person I can be for myself and for my family, and just try to continue putting the best out there that I can. So that's what I'm gonna do, and if you stick around to watch it, I very much appreciate it.
The only thing I've ever groomed is my 2 Persian cats. I'm not a groomer. I'm just a loser.
Before completely abandoning their primary channel in favor of posting to their spin-off channels like nothing happened.
Cody Ko came back with a workout thing.
Yeah.
I guess that's the thing. You just come back. I worked out, guys. My felonies are expunged.
Honestly, it's
yeah, so what? I
true.
raped that girl. I ran 1,000 miles.
This is Colleen, who you might recognize from her many crimes. But she's not in prison, she's back on YouTube.
Yeah, they have a lot in common, but there's one really big difference.
I wanted to make a video with my sister because I like her, and last time we did a video together, we kissed, and I just can't stop thinking about this.
Okay, there's another really big difference. Because if you fast forward to today, Colleen's reach on YouTube has cratered, with her abandoning her 2 largest channels and seeing roughly 1/10 of the viewership on her remaining 1/3, while Cody Ko, he's doing pretty well. Like, not only compared to Colleen, but compared to really any YouTuber that faces cancellation, even some who end up being absolved. I mean, sure, his views definitely took a hit, but he's still clearing hundreds of thousands of views with ease, making, if I had to guess as someone in an adjacent niche, a luxurious living from just YouTube, to put it lightly. So am I saying that Cody Ko has secretly been one of the world's top minds when it comes to content strategy and PR? Not quite. The reasons he's managed to be the exception to the rule are actually pretty simple, though it's a troubling sign for the future of content creation. Now, Cody Ko was of course a huge creator that made the classic transition from Viner to YouTube commentary creator.
When Vine died, we started trying to do like videos that were basically just longer versions of Vine. Like, it seems like we all do this exact same thing now, which is absolutely great.
Though he opted to center his videos more around light-hearted and cringy content than some of his counterparts.
There's a lot of weird men online grifting off of young, lonely, vulnerable men by promoting a weird, like, skewed, dated, and harmful version of masculinity.
All right, today we have Spot the Pregnant Person. She's right here!
You guys, I found her.
And while many of the other commentary creators of his time have shifted to more scripted content resembling video essays,
protein, one of the internet's most fervent obsessions. Protein is the part of food that helps you build and maintain muscle. It's how guys like Justin and I have gotten jacked out of our minds.
Cody has continued to lean on personality-based, off-the-cuff videos, and overall his content was pretty inoffensive. I mean, while specifically fixating on cringe content does have a negative connotation, the humor of his videos would remain pretty good-natured overall. For example, when a teacher decided to respond to Jake Paul's teacher diss track, yes, that really happened.
How to get a DM back, how to buy a Lambo cash. My teachers never taught me that.
With their own song,
but I'm here like every day, bro. So how you gonna diss me with that Disney Channel flow? My students know I got their back.
Cody and his then collaborator, Noel Miller, used that as an opportunity to continue dunking on Jake Paul.
But I do it for the kids and they know that's a fact.
You see how he's like, even he is like riding it a little bit?
Yeah, no,
he's like, he's putting a little something into it. I don't think Jake Paul understands that him and all his, they sound like Kids Bop.
Yeah.
My teachers never told me that!
Yeah.
Rather than make fun of the teacher trying to do something good for his students. And because his videos sat closer to the reaction side of the commentary spectrum, it was an easy format to pump out consistently. So when you take a charismatic and funny creator consistently putting out good-natured content with no particularly off-putting traits, and give them the advantage of having a strong following elsewhere, not to mention an endearing public relationship to an equally charming partner,
improve my skills with the iOS SDK.
I feel like you're like trying to be smart.
I know, clearly.
But you're so naturally smart.
No, I'm not, though. I'm not.
Well, not when you're like, prove the iOS 6K.
And being part of a strong comedy duo, and yeah, it makes sense that Cody Ko became one of the most successful Vine refugees. I mean, he was basically a charming frat bro without any of the negatives of that trope. Or so it would seem. Because in May of 2024, creator Tana Mojo said that her and Cody had slept together when she was 17 and the latter was 25 in approximately 2015. And at first, this story went largely unnoticed, partially because Tana was talking about it a lot, but with a disclaimer that downplayed it.
I mean, I look back and I would never do anything like that. So I'm like, what the fuck was wrong with you?
Yeah.
But I don't associate or hold it with trauma.
But I would say it was mainly because it wasn't something that the biggest commentary creators on YouTube were covering. I know that sounds weird, like I'm not a fan of people blaming creators based on what they won't do, but in this case, it actually is relevant. If the criticism being aimed at a creator is coming from outside their audience, the viewers will likely assume that the reporting is in bad faith. That is, if they even see the reporting. Because how often are you checking Rolling Stone for the name of every creator that you watch? Not to mention that a right or left-wing creator criticizing the other usually leads to an echo chamber effect because we all default to our preferred narratives, right? And for commentary creators, speaking out against someone with whom they share an audience comes with a real risk, because that shared audience can be turned against you if you're found to be the aggressor or unethical one. But D'Angelo Wallace eventually broke that dam.
Alright, Cody, let's have an uncomfortable conversation.
While also calling out the aforementioned silence.
Someone has been alleging for years now that you, one of the largest commentary creators on YouTube, knowingly committed a crime against her when she was a minor. But YouTubers and viewers alike are ignoring and discrediting these allegations solely because the person making them happens to be an unlikable woman online, Tana Mojo.
This suddenly led to conversations about Cody's actions being at the forefront of YouTube rather than being pushed to the side.
That's a huge allegation that actually has a lot of evidence backing it up, which D'Angelo Wallace covers in great detail in this video. It's not some imaginary nothing burger that someone squeaked out between their butt cheeks to try and ruin Cody Ko. It's a serious accusation that appears to have a lot of evidence about it.
And in an instant, he became radioactive, bleeding hundreds of thousands of subscribers while creators quickly distanced themselves. And then, well, first a quick refresher on Colleen. Because Colleen was an even bigger creator with prolific channels across all kinds of niches, though most notably was the Miranda Sings character that she would lean on for various types of comedy videos.
I know the problem. You guys don't look right. You don't look like superstars. Perfect! Yeah, you guys look like pop stars.
This led her on a path to Broadway, making her debut in Waitress and later being cast in an unknown musical that they were let go from, actually as a result of this controversy.
It was an audition for a Broadway show and I got it, and we, had dates set, and I was really excited to go do Broadway again. And then it didn't happen. And I was really sad about that. And I'm not going to get super into it, but obviously a lot happened last year. A lot was said last year. I lost that opportunity right after a story came out about me that was just completely made up.
You see, various former fans came out with accusations against her, including speaking inappropriately to them in DMs and group chats.
Adam, you need questions for your Q&A? Are you a virgin? To a 14, 15-year-old. And then furthermore goes on and says, what's your favorite sexual position? And Colleen, for all the messages that I've now for the first time shown my mom that you have messaged me, virgin, ass pics, sexual position, period talk, like all this, your ex-husband, Josh's size,
as well as humiliating her fans for a laugh during her live shows.
I got called up for the yoga challenge. Now, as soon as I stood up from the audience, I saw Colleen's eyes widen because she realized I was not wearing pants. But for some reason, that didn't stop her from continuing. I am laying down and Colleen is spreading my legs basically as far as she can. I will never forget where I was laying under Colleen and she was smirking down at me while thousands of people were laughing, and I was terrified that my body wasn't covered up enough by the spandex or the romper. I basically felt naked, so it felt incredibly violating.
Cue, well, much of the same reaction that Cody got.
There's mountains of like actual messages and videos of her engaging in very, very bad behavior, very awful things, which has led to people labeling her things like a groomer and a predator, which she really doesn't like, but that's what all of these documents point towards.
Which makes sense, and I'm guessing you know why. As a society, we tend to take any injustice committed against kids much more seriously. So while yes, reactions to controversies and cancellations can be pretty widespread, that tends to change once minors are harmed in any way, to the point that it tends to cloud judgment and can lead to skewed facts being spread because no one wants to risk enabling someone harming kids.
The term pedophile refers to people who are attracted to those that are prepubescent. Then there's something called a hedophile. That's people who are attracted to those in the early stages of puberty. It's very hard to explain the difference without sounding like a pedophile.
And in the case of both Cody and Colleen, the accusations were damning, as other creators were able to corroborate Tana's story.
There was a situation with Gabby Hanna at a Playlist Live where she pulled him aside and told him like, yo, she's 17, and then we still went and hooked up.
Well, Colleen's actions were very well documented. But again, enough people are still watching Cody for him to be considered a very successful creator, when arguably his controversy was worse, as it crossed lines that Colleen's didn't. So why? Well, if we look at this from a feminist perspective, What? I should just stick to the whole media nerd shtick? Oh, because there's a really bad precedent of male creators speaking on behalf of feminism? I mean, fair enough. So if we look at this from a PR perspective, it starts with their immediate response. Or in Cody's case, a total lack thereof. You see, Cody Ko initially responded to this by specifically not responding to this. While some creators respond to controversy by pumping out content as quickly as possible to hurry up and flush out those speaking against them, he and his wife Kelsey both suddenly vanished from the internet in order to regroup. Well, other than a quick DJ set or two. That's not a joke, by the way. He happens to be a DJ, and while totally ignoring this controversy, he was still going at it. Though in fairness, it's likely those obligations were made beforehand, and well, legal issues aside, you don't want a reputation of being a no-show.
XQC is the least reliable human on the planet. Anytime I've ever asked him to do something, he either says yes, then doesn't show up, or doesn't reply at all, and then complains about not being invited on stream. I will never do a collab with him again.
But yeah, it seemed like he would show up, do his set, and would bolt out. See, this controversy was a really big deal for Cody because of the brand he had created. Again, I will always stress that a creator's rise is what determines their sudden fall. I don't think something like this would have been a big deal to, say, an Aiden Ross or Jake Paul, because that's the kind of thing they've taught their audiences to expect. And for commentary, this trap is especially easy to spring. Why? Well, you're mainly just giving your opinion on stuff, right? So pretty often that's going to include calling people out for problematic behavior. I mean, if you're remotely familiar with the commentary space, then you've probably woken up to a feed filled with every commentary creator making basically their version of the same video. All that to say that the primary thesis of most commentary videos is some kind of criticism. So intentionally or otherwise, it's easy for your criticisms to simultaneously elevate yourself on a pedestal that you might not necessarily be deserving of. And this trap is one that some commentary creators have even acknowledged.
I've made a career off publicly shaming people for mistakes that they may have
desperately regretted. And of course, it's ironic that I have spent hours over dozens of videos laughing at people's mistakes and the way they respond to criticism when I myself have been closed off to any criticism or feedback that I receive on my own videos.
I mean, hell, even Cody kind of did in his apology.
You know, I spent the first half of my career criticizing people and judging people online, so, you know, I don't begrudge your judgment of me by any means.
So in the case of Cody, well, he's called out men who are creepy to women.
He just like actually gave the bad kind of chills to 4 girls at the same time. That is an impressive thing to do. You really gotta say something creepy.
Or otherwise sexist or incel-y.
Today we're gonna go through like the classic pickup artist like courses. You know what I'm talking about? Where like a group of dudes convene in like a Hilton convention room in Vegas, and they learn how to like make fun of women to their face, basically.
What's more, even when making fun of women, he would maintain focus on their behavior and toe the line pretty effectively, considering his core series involved making fun of cringe.
Just 2 sisters striving to be God-defined girls in a culture-defined world. Culture-defined world. What else would it be? The other thing that defines groups of people.
Right.
When they, yeah.
Right. I don't know. I'm not a scientist.
I mean, hell, he would even touch upon other women reinforcing gender roles and misogyny.
If he's serious about overcoming a sin, he's gonna make the steps and take the steps to go find an older, godlier man in his church who can hold him accountable.
So she's saying you're not gonna be able to help him. He needs a man to help him. Like, that's just fucking sexist, straight up.
True.
So while I wouldn't say he crossed into being like a performative male feminist type, his content was kind of presenting himself as aligned with women. Or at least as much as you realistically can without getting blatantly political. Once again, I would argue that Cody Ko had this real appeal from the fact that he had all the charm of a boy, but without the problematic elements that make said boys difficult, which I would say made him appealing to the female demographic. And then for men, well, he's one of the boys, right? But yes, Cody Ko went radio silent the second D'Angelo's video made the rounds. Let's compare that to Colleen, shall we?
I've been wanting to come online and talk to you about a few things. Even though my team has strongly advised me to not say what I want to say, I recently realized that they never said that I couldn't sing what I want to say.
So it's pretty subtle, but if you really pay attention, you might see a big difference already. Yes, in Colleen's case, she was less restrained, considering her response to this day is known as perhaps the single worst response video ever. Yeah, if you couldn't tell, she decided that breaking her silence with song was the appropriate response. And this was terrible for a few reasons. First, the whole girl with ukulele genre on YouTube kind of peaked in the mid-2010s, but almost as important was the tone. There were multiple teenagers and young adults, face and all, who were making very serious claims about Colleen's conduct with a lot of evidence against her. So to reply in song, even if it's supposed to be self-deprecating,
it's kind of like when you go to like a family gathering, you know, and there's a weird aunt there, keeps coming up to you and going like, "Hey girl, what's the tea?" And you're like, "Ugh." That was me, but in group chats with my fans. It was weird.
Ultimately just made it seem like she didn't take any of this seriously. Worst of all, it became a pretty big meme on TikTok. Bad apology videos are common, sure, but usually one still image doesn't immediately tell you everything you need to know. I mean, personally, I can only think of 2, maybe 3 apology videos that have become a one-frame meme, and none of them did on anywhere near this level. So it was able to spread quickly. There was also the fact that many of her, I still can't believe I'm saying this, but lyrics completely misrepresented the claims against her. Like,
"I'm just a loser who didn't understand I shouldn't respond to fans, and I'm not a predator, even though a lot of you think so, because 5 years ago I made a fart joke."
Doesn't exactly detail having group chats with teenage fans where explicit conversations were being led by Colleen, right? And while sure, Colleen was known for more juvenile humor, her image still led to fans expecting much more than they got, especially since juvenile humor landed her an audience of largely teens. So for the onset of the accusations, maybe you can see the first big difference, because that's the secret. Cody succeeded by doing nothing. But okay, I should probably explain what I mean, right? Apologies are tricky on YouTube, because if the public feels entitled to one, then ignoring those calls will be seen as only making the original injustice worse. But that really only applies to people who care enough about a creator to hear about their personal wrongdoings from a third source. But what if you're not following any relevant subreddits, or you exercise good judgment and stay off of Twitter? then you'd likely never hear about a given creator controversy since it's more than easy for said creator to moderate their comments. I mean, that's part of the reason that when creators do make apology videos, they often do it on a secondary channel with a smaller viewer base. That way, they technically addressed it for those who care, but it can go unnoticed for those who haven't a clue. So how does that relate here? Well, Colleen's artistic decision was posted to her vlogging channel, which, while not as meteoric as Miranda Sings, was still a pretty notable channel with a comparable monthly viewership. What's more, her statement went in a dedicated video. I would argue this helped it be even more viral, not just because more people will watch when they know it's an apology, but because of the meme it became. Like, in the weeks following her response, if you had seen this thumbnail, there was a very real chance you'd recognize it and go, alright, there's no way it was that bad, right? Let me just check it out. While Cody posted it on his third channel, not on the Commentary Cody Ko one, or the Reacting Cody and Co, but on Cody Trains. And before you get your hopes up, no, it's not a channel where he tells us about a vital yet underfunded part of our transportation infrastructure, but a vlogging channel about how he runs marathons. I am serious. That was where he broke his internet silence. But not only was his statement beyond vague, I mean, you wouldn't have a clue what he was talking about out of context.
Obviously, I understand I've been offline for months, haven't made videos for, that whole time. And I also understand if your opinion of me has potentially changed over the last few months.
But this statement was buried at the very end of an unrelated video.
To say it's time to get back on the horse. Being creative, doing this type of thing and putting it out there, it's just in my DNA. I need to do it, and so I'm gonna do it. Obviously, I understand I've been offline for months.
Like, getting to the bottom of the situation would be so much more confusing for a viewer than if it was a creator who has just one channel, like me. So subscribe, that way when I do f up, you'll see that I have no choice but to grovel on main. Place your bets on if I got clipped on TikTok one day with a, that didn't age well. Anyway, even if a viewer is dedicated enough to follow the breadcrumbs home, his language would likely lead you to assume it's a smaller situation not worth following up on. Because here's the thing, given the nature of the offense, yeah, he knew that his days of being mainstream were more than likely over. I am very confident in that. But it makes for a good test drive. You can see how many subscribers leave the channel composed of your most loyal viewers as a temperature check for your general audience. Even better, drop it right before Christmas when people have other things on their mind. Unrelated, but I happened to be listening to the Outer Wild soundtrack while writing this part, and I actually think it would have done wonders for his messaging.
All I can do right now and moving forward is just try to be the best person I can be for myself and for my family, and just try to continue putting the best out there that I can. So that's what I'm gonna do, and if you stick around to watch it, I very much appreciate it from the bottom of my heart, truly.
Like, I almost had to remind myself that we're not supposed to root for him. Though I will say, I've commented before on high production values for apologies being a bad idea, because it makes you seem less relatable while reminding people of your possible wealth. And Cody followed this so well that this is what his footage looked like, while there is a literal multicam studio right behind him. Anyway, Cody's exercise in data collection then seemed to pay off. I mean, 400,000 views resulting in the loss of 4,000 subscribers, that's manageable. And so he went back to posting regularly on the Cody Trains channel. But what's the advantage of using his smallest channel? That's not gonna fill a trust fund. Well, actually, it's pretty clever. Remember those groups we were talking about? The ones who care enough about the controversy to seek Cody out and say negative things or try to inform his viewers, and then the blissfully ignorant fans. Consistency on YouTube isn't nearly as important as it once was, so a channel going on a months-long hiatus, honestly, it's unlikely to do much damage. So you can use the Cody Trains channel as bait to draw out the most dedicated naysayers and get them to move on before going back to your actual channel. It's not a bad idea, honestly. Worst case, if it backfired, the damage would primarily be on that channel, and it wouldn't have been a devastating loss for Cody if it went under. So a bit over a month later, in February 2025, Cody returned to what was acting as his main channel, Cody & Co. And while yeah, he lost 60,000 of his subscribers upon returning, his monthly view count has been steadily climbing, already doubling from 4 to 8 million views by the end of 2025, pulling similar numbers to early 2023. And he's already stopped bleeding subscribers. I mean, there's not a month with a net gain yet, but with the weird way YouTube now shows subscriber counts, we can only track his numbers to the nearest 10,000. So in August of 2025, the loss was small enough for it to not even register, if that makes sense. And while sure, his views aren't back to 2024 levels, I mean, consistently hitting hundreds of thousands of views multiple times per week is going to be pretty lucrative in his niche, and it helps that his content is largely evergreen, meaning it'll never be outdated. So the views can continue to steadily climb for past uploads while ensuring he has a stacked catalog for future fans who'll know nothing about the controversy. And while the Cody Ko channel remains abandoned, I feel like that was inevitable. I don't know, I just feel like there's a growing trend of creators that lean on more high effort content that get burned out from it and then take one of two paths. Either they lean into more intentional marathon instead of sprinting formats like Eddie Burback, Danny Gonzalez, or Drew Gooden.
In 2025, what does it look like for someone in their late 20s living in a major city to completely get rid of their cell phone? Well, I'm going to find that out, because over the next month, I will be locking my phone in this safe, and I will not be opening it.
Or they switch over to more reactionary, off-the-cuff, or personality-based content that's easier to pump out on a spin-off channel. Think Nick is Not Green, Smosh, Rhett and Link, or Cody himself.
Well, if I were to hang around people my age who are in the real world, as I would call it, I'd be like, holy shit, I'm a child. Yeah. What do you do? I read Reddit stories.
And why wouldn't you opt for that if your career goals don't involve making ambitious individual videos? Especially if you're Cody and the line between your main channel and spin-off are, what? Editing and a couple hours of research? If Cody Ko's passion now is to be a DJ and musician, and prior to Vine, he worked in a completely unrelated field.
So I wrote an app senior year of college that went viral, and I ended up selling it. And so I thought I was hot shit at the time, Mr. Tech Boy.
Mr. Tech Boy!
I thought I was the next Zuckerberg, apparently.
Then yeah, why would he not eventually opt for a somewhat creatively bankrupt infinite money glitch? Also, in case it's unclear that I don't like being sued, I'm not stating that Cody's great strategy was intentional or that he knew these pros or was intentionally trying to manipulate the variables impacted, because I can't read minds. However, for the actions he took, those are the relative pros that I think contribute to his success in a major way. Now, compare Cody Ko to any of the countless canceled creators to come before him, and you gotta admit, his bounce back is pretty great for someone who wasn't absolved in the public eye, whereas Colleen is posting and not really doing too much more. I mean, both her monthly and average views are tapering off consistently over time, even though the dust of the controversy has long since settled. Also, while Cody has refused to acknowledge the controversy since, and it's all but died down, Colleen can't help but lob vague defenses and references towards her scandal.
Guys, have you seen the clip of Colleen Ballinger reacting to the Taylor Swift album? And when she gets to the song Cancelled, she's like in tears and she's like crying and she's like moved. And she basically is saying that like she identifies with the song.
Or friends doing so on her behalf.
The internet can take a lie and run so far with it, so far to the point where you just can't do anything about it. The problem is the internet was able to capitalize off of her cancellation, and they still are, and they still are continuing to, and it's not okay because a lot of it is based off of lies.
And I would argue the vagueness on both sides just makes things worse for her. Like, I referenced that JoJo clip twice on this channel because she unilaterally calls the whole thing a lie without refuting it in any way, which I would argue encourages conversation of like, wait, it's a lie? How so? Wait, what's a lie? I didn't even know something happened. Yeah, insert very boiled down version that might even misrepresent the situation. Wow, she sucks. As opposed to an actual defense, which would help guide the ever crucial first impression that people will get. In other words, vaguely saying, I did nothing wrong, or I don't deserve this, and letting the comments fill in the gaps, it's, not the best approach, right? So maybe you see now why I think Cody's success in the face of outrage is troubling for the future of content creation. It reinforces a pattern where accountability of any nature is inherently a bad business move for creators. So yeah, it creates a situation where there can be more of a cost in responding to a minor or untrue accusation than ignoring a major scandal until it goes away. And while yes, I was being tongue-in-cheek when talking about gender, there are absolutely countless similar factors that you could argue played a role. But call me crazy, I just think having a meltdown so bad and tasteless that it ruins an instrument for millions versus just being a chill guy results in a different outcome. So in cases like Cody where they seem invincible, it's worth noting that accountability can really only come from other creators. I mean, going from a safe, guaranteed, low-risk collaboration to untouchable is a big deal. It limits his exposure to new audiences and resources from the creator space. Like wanting to make a cinematic music video, but your favorite cinematographer doesn't want to risk the bad PR. Or you can get Ned Fulmered.
Ned Fulmer is no longer working with the Try Guys.
So on Friday, September 16th, the three of us signed written consent of the members of Second Try LLC approving the removal of Ned as a manager and an employee.
Which actually kind of seems to have happened to Cody, as a huge source of income from him was his podcast with Noel Miller, who recently came out saying this.
I own a podcast network called TMG Studios. And just to make it clear, when I say I own it, I mean me alone by myself.
As well as sharing some of the ways that now his production company is planning to expand.
Earlier this year, we signed 5 new shows. Upstairs Neighbors, Not That Y'all Care, Crash Dummies, Are We Still Friends, and Big Al's Grill ASMR with Alec Flynn. In addition to these 5 shows, we have Brooke and Connor Make a Podcast, and of course, The Company Live.
So while yes, Cody's still doing much better than the average person or creator, that's right, we aren't human, it's undeniable that between losing his company and a sizable portion of his viewership, he is hurting on some level. I guess the big what if is, can he pull essentially a Shane Dawson or Smosh and rebuild a dying brand by expanding to a new, broader audience? Though it's a bit of an uncharted territory since he started with that wide appeal instead of broadening the more specified genre of sketch comedy. All this to say that, if you ask me, the joke here is ultimately on Cody, because he just gets to live in his big house with a seemingly great family and the fortune he's already made while still getting to expand it at just a slowed rate from before, while I get to not have health insurance. So, we did it, guys. Yeah.